Look at the camera. Look at the camera. Look. Hi, honeybees. My name is Raven. This is October. That's Jasper, and welcome back to our channel. Subscribe to become part of the hive. Be sure to like and ring the notification bell. Thanks, honeybees. Enjoy the video. Meow. Hi, friends. Welcome back to my channel. I'm coming at you with another movie review today, and there's 3 movies in particular that I want to talk about. And spoiler alert, they're all movies that I liked. And something that I've said a lot on this channel is that I don't really talk about or review movies that I like very much. And when a movie is good, I really don't have much to say about it other than it's good and here are the reasons why it's good and you should watch it. And I don't really get into the plot much or anything because I don't really want to spoil or give away anything in a movie that I recommend because I think people should watch it and experience it for themselves. So I don't know. This might be a shorter video. I'll throw in a movie I saw recently that I didn't like at the end. I'm just going to talk through a couple of them today. So the first movie I saw recently that I liked is Novocaine. Novocaine stars Jack Quaid, who just recently was in Companion, but Novocaine, a little bit different. I really like the premise where Jack Quaid plays this character, Nathan Kane. Little on the nose there for sure, but that's, that's fun sometimes. You can have fun stuff in a comedy, I guess. It's not really a comedy, but like comedy action, that kind of thing. Which also interesting genre. I like comedic action movies. I don't really like action, but you add some jokes to it, you add a fun main character, and I'm all about it. And I like John Wick style movies and stuff like that. This isn't like Jack Quaid's John Wick or anything like that. Not in the same way that that movie Killer's Game was Dave Bautista's John Wick. That was very specifically a John Wick style movie, and this is different. But anyway, Novocaine. Jack Quaid plays Nathan Kane, who's a guy that cannot feel pain or heat or cold. And I think the interpretation of that character was very interesting because I would think of a character like that as being someone who maybe is fearless and often like stumbling and getting into trouble and not realizing it. But the way his character is written and portrayed, it's that he's almost like agoraphobic in a way. He's kind of afraid of anything, and his whole life is kind of set up to keep him safe. And we learn pretty quickly that that's based on his upbringing. His parents never even let him have solid food just in case he accidentally bit his tongue off. So to this day, as an adult, he's like 30 something years old. He doesn't eat solid food until the events of the movie. And his reaction to eating pie is like, oh my God, this is pie. That's crazy. And I like the kind of like setup of him in the beginning of the movie, like who he is and how this has affected his life. That like his shower is like set to a very specific spot so that it won't burn him and won't be too cold. There's like padding on all the corners around his house in case he like bumps them and bruises himself and doesn't realize it. Another little interesting detail that comes into play in the plot is that he's really good at like medical stuff. Like he's excellent at first aid. And anytime there's like a burn or a cut or anything, like he knows what to do. And thinking about it, like that's a skill that someone like that would have to develop. Someone who might get hurt all the time and won't know it needs to know how to deal with that if it happens all the time. So I thought that was kind of a cool way to set up his character. We learn all that about him in the first like 5-10 minutes of the movie. So excellent setup, I thought. And then of course we get to like the inciting incident of the movie where it's essentially a revenge story. Like I said, movies that I like and recommend, I don't want to give away too much detail, but just based on the trailer, he kind of has a thing for this girl that he works with. She gets kidnapped and then he goes and tries to find her and save her. And watching him kind of like face his fears of the world in that way while getting horribly maimed along the way was fun and interesting. There was definitely a lot of gasps from my part just in all the different ways that he is just brutally tortured during various fights and traps and things that he happens to get into and his reaction to them. One negative thing I will say about Novocaine is that whole gimmick of him not feeling pain, so anyone and everything in the movie can do anything to him and he'll be fine at the end of the day. It got old. It definitely got old. It did get a little tiring seeing him constantly get like shot and punched and cut and fallen and stabbed over and over and over again. And at a point, like him using that to his advantage, like that's the stuff that I liked. Like him like adjusting to this disorder that he had. The parts where we saw how he lived his life based on his disorder, like that was my favorite part. But also like being tortured. There's like a scene where he gets like stabbed in the leg with an arrow. He gets like shot with an arrow. and then he traps like the person, he fights a lot of people in this movie, but the person he's fighting in that particular scene traps him in between his knees where the arrow is, shoves the arrow through his own knees, going through the person's head. That was like very much like, that's kind of the John Wicky stuff I'm talking about, where he's just like very, very resourceful. I really appreciated how resourceful he was in the movie, in increasingly entertaining and comedic and shocking ways. But it just got old. Once we saw like 5, 6, 7 scenes of that sort of stuff happening and reaching into a deep fryer and like to shoot a gun and all this stuff, I was just kind of like, okay, I get it. Like, I get it. It got to a point, the very end of the movie, when it seems like things are wrapping up, then like the lead like bad guy gets away, and then I'm like, no, like be over. I don't need another scene of Jack Quaid getting like brutally beaten. We've seen that for over an hour now. And then we think the bad guys finally got caught and the cops finally caught up to them. But then, no, we have to do it one more time. And he's got to escape one more time and get in an ambulance. And it's got to like fall down a hill and all this stuff has to happen. So the last big like scene, like torture fight scene, I felt was completely unnecessary, but everything else I thought was fine. And there's like a fun little twist in the movie, and I really enjoyed how that twist ended up panning out. I was worried it was going to be a little too basic, and it wasn't. I was genuinely surprised by the twist and surprised at how it was handled in the end, and just basically the whole ending of the film. So I thought it was a really well-structured movie. I thought it started great. It set up our character and our world and our situation really, really well. Ended with a nice tight little bow. There was just a few unnecessary things here and there, but all in all, I thought Novocaine was a pretty good movie, very entertaining. I'm kind of iffy on Jack Quaid. There's a lot of people I know who like love him and will watch movies just for him, and other people who are kind of like, who, and he's fine. I haven't seen like the thing that I think brought him the most fame, aside from being a Nepo baby, but we don't have to talk about that. That's not really what this is about. But the thing that I feel like brought him the most fans is being on The Boys, which I have not seen, and I don't really intend to watch, to be honest with you. But I haven't seen that, so I don't really know about him and his character there. I've only ever really seen him in Companion, and maybe one or two other things that I can't even think of off the top of my head. So I'm kind of indifferent about him right now. But so far in what I've seen him in, he's decent. I don't really have anything bad to say about him. I don't have anything particularly great to say about him. I thought he did a very good job, particularly in Novocaine more than Companion. So, maybe it's just going to be an upward spiral for me, and one day I'll turn into a fan. But right now I'm kind of indifferent. But all in all, this isn't really about Jack Quaid. It's about Novocaine. And Novocaine, I thought was a good movie, and I will continue to watch his movies because generally I think he's pretty good. Novocaine, I give 3.5 stars out of 5. That's what I've been giving most movies lately, but there's a difference between like a mid 3.5 and a good 3.5. I know my scale is kind of weird. I'm a little bit strict with how I grade things, but this is like a pretty good 3.5. And I would recommend it. Not necessarily something you have to see in theaters. The best part about seeing this movie in theaters was reacting to all the shocking moments with people. That's something I really enjoy about seeing movies in a theater, is being able to react with strangers and kind of bond with strangers in that way. There's like the movie theater magic for me, but not necessary to see it in a theater. You can definitely catch it once it streams and still get a pretty good experience. The next movie I want to talk about is Locked.
My name is William. I'm the owner of this car.
What do you want?
Thou shalt not steal. That's not complicated, is it?
Did you just tase me?
Do I have your attention now?
Locked, starring Bill Skarsgård. Also the reason I'm wearing pink for this video, because he wears pink in the movie, and I don't really have a whole lot of pink things, but I just got this Gorillaz t-shirt recently, and I thought, oh, pink. And my hair is short. I was going to bleach it, actually, because Bill Skarsgård's hair is bleached in the movie, but if you don't know, I'm on a hair journey. This is all 100% my natural virgin hair. I cut off all of the dyed hair that I had, and that's why I've been bald lately, if anyone's wondered about that. But it wasn't worth it to bleach my hair and ruin my hair journey just for this video, but imagine I'm dressed as Bill Skarsgård in Locked. Locked was good. It's the type of specific genre of movie that I really enjoy. One of the types of genres of movies that I really enjoy, which is one or multiple characters are trapped in one place and they have to figure a way out of it. So Saw, like the first Saw movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. Cubed even, which isn't like an excellent movie, but that part of it, like just the fact that they're trying to get out, I just really like. Even something like The Hateful Eight, which is a little spin on that genre. It's not necessarily that they have to figure a way out of the cabin, it's just that they're trapped in the cabin and things go down while they are all trapped in one place. Just in one place type of movies I really enjoy. And for the most part, Locked takes place in a car, which is not something that I've seen before. There is a movie called Lock, starring, I believe, Tom Hardy, where he is in a car the whole time, but he's driving it the whole time. And the whole movie is kind of told through like conversations he has over the phone in the car. Like this one like trip in this car, his life falls apart. Like his boss calls and fires him, and his wife calls and wants a divorce. Like I don't remember specifics of that movie, but so when this movie Locked was announced, I was like, Lock? The movie where Tom Hardy's in a car, they already made that, but no, it's Bill Skarsgård and he's trapped in a car. And it sounds very similar, very, very different though. This is the type of movie where you need a strong powerhouse performance because 90% of the time it's just Bill Skarsgård. There's a little bit in the beginning where there's more characters before Bill Skarsgård gets to the car. It sets up why and how he breaks into the car. And then the most of it is him in there just talking to Anthony Hopkins through the car phone for part of it, but also part of it is just him trying to figure stuff out, trying to break out, trying to like get water, trying to get warm or cold based on what Anthony Hopkins is controlling for him in the car. And then towards the end, we finally see Anthony Hopkins, and then the very, very end, we see the characters that we saw in the beginning of the movie again. But most of the time, it's just Bill Skarsgård, and he is carrying the film. And you need a really strong actor to do that sort of thing, like to carry your entire film, because for the longest time, he's the only person we see on screen and our only like connection that we have. We don't really relate to Anthony Hopkins' character. He's just a voice, right? Who's antagonizing our lead. And the protagonist doesn't always mean good guy. You know, Bill Skarsgård is a criminal who breaks into this car for nefarious reasons. So it's not necessarily that he's like a good guy, but he is the protagonist. He's the one we relate to, the one whose journey we are following. And I thought he did a great job. And, I am not, I'd like to say I'm not biased because I adore Bill Skarsgård ever since It 2017 came out, ever since the trailer dropped for It 2017. I was like, that guy, all in Pennywise makeup at the time. But as soon as I saw his face in the trailer, I was like, that guy, that's him. He's it. And ever since then, I've very closely followed his career and I love every single thing that he does. And so I was really, really excited to see a movie that's just like pretty much just Bill Skarsgård with who looks so hot with bleached hair and shitty little tattoos, almost as hot as he looked in The Crow. And he had like fun, shitty little tattoos there. Just Bill Skarsgård with shitty little tattoos put in a situation, like that's my shit. But anyway, what I was saying was he's the one we relate to on screen. So like all his like emotions, like we really have to like see it and hear it and think like, what would we do in this situation? Does it line up with what he's doing? And we really like relate to him at certain points, or maybe you don't. You know, I did. I was like, this is what I would try. This is what I would do. And that's kind of what he was doing. Different desperations at different points. And the portrayal of that, it was just really cool. And I have never been in that situation, so I can't really say what I would do, but watching him go through it was fun and intense and just a really great experience. And there's really not much else I want to say about that one because I do, like I said, recommend it, and I don't really want to give anything else away. But I really loved the setup to Bill Skarsgård's character. That's something that this movie has in common with Novocaine, is the setup of our character and how they got to this situation. Because if we had just opened with Bill Skarsgård breaking into the car, like first thing that we see, and then we just kind of learn about him while he's in the car, that still would have been like cool, like learning about our character after the inciting incident. But I did really like that there was a little bit more setup to that. Like, why is he breaking in this car? Is he just like a regular petty criminal just doing this for no reason? But usually when people steal, it's not for no reason. They're usually down and out. And so we kind of set up his specific version of down and out, like why he's doing this, what brought him to this point. We get the inciting incident, and then we learn even more about him and just who he is as a person, but also what he's been through that got him to that point over the course of him like fighting for his life trapped in this car for like 4 or 5 days, I think it is, without barely any food or water, a place to go to the bathroom. So you can imagine the struggle there that we get to witness, all while Anthony Hopkins, who's this guy on his deathbed, who owns the car and has tricked it out to be inescapable and also a torture device, torturing Bill Skarsgård, and the reason that he is doing that, and his side of this whole situation. And what's cool about it is they're both kind of the bad guy, but they're both kind of the good guy in a way. Anthony Hopkins is kind of like a vigilante doing this because Bill Skarsgård had no business breaking into his car. And Anthony Hopkins is sick of the way that cops are handling things in this fictional version of Los Angeles or New York or some big city, wherever they are. I don't remember where they said. But in this city with a lot of crime, he's taking it into his own hands. And Bill Skarsgård happened to get caught in his trap. And Bill Skarsgård, like, doesn't deserve to die and be tortured over this. He's struggling, and if he wasn't struggling, he wouldn't be doing this. But at the same time, like, actions have consequences. So it's one of those moral quandaries where it's sometimes hard to see whose side you should be on or want to be on. Mainly I was on Bill Skarsgård's side just because, like, I love him, and so I was a little biased on that. But regardless, it's kind of interesting to go through the movie and kind of switch here and there on whose side I am on, whose side I think I should be on. So it's kind of a thinker in that way. Not like it's like a super smart movie, but it's one of those things that like pulled me back and forth and really brought me into that world. And a lot of that is because of Bill Skarsgård's acting performance. I thought he was just incredible. And then his like chemistry with Anthony Hopkins' voice was great. Like, I loved their dynamic and the way they kind of like played off of each other in this unique style. So Locked, I give 4 stars out of 5. I kind of give it a little bit more leeway just because I love Bill Skarsgård. But as a movie, like, it is generally 3.5 to a 4, but I'm going to say that it's a 4 out of 5 just because in retrospect, I have thought about the movie a lot since watching it, more so than I have Novocaine and other movies, and that kind of bumps it up a little bit for me. So Locked, 4 out of 5. Definitely recommend it. Again, not necessarily a theater movie. There's not really a lot of reactions to be had. Not necessarily needs to be seen on the big screen. I think it would actually maybe even work better on like a smaller home screen so you can kind of get more of like the claustrophobia feel, because it is all in this car for the most part. And I think it would have registered a lot better if I saw it on a small screen, so it looked kind of more like how it would in real life, like being trapped in a car. So once this movie comes on streaming, or if it's available for VOD already, like, definitely watch this one at home. Okay, so turns out I did have a lot to say about all these without getting into details, so good for me. I'm going to mention 2 more movies, one that I also liked and then one that I didn't really like, just to mention it. Another one that came out recently that I really enjoyed was Mickey 17.
On Earth, nothing was working out, and I wanted to get the hell out of there.
You're applying to be an expendable?
You read through the paperwork?
Yeah. I should have read through it.
That's it. Mickey, deep breaths, fill your lungs. Imagine there's an unknown virus in the air.
And you're sucking in every single microscopic particle floating around.
All the viruses.
So good?
There really was an unknown virus in the air. Lethal one.
See you tomorrow.
I can finally, now that this movie is out, now that Mickey 17 is finally out in theaters, I can finally reveal that I watched Mickey 17 on November 14th, 2023. A year and a half ago, I watched this movie when it previewed in LA. It previewed a couple of times, so I wasn't one of the first audiences to see it, and I don't know if it previewed after me, but a year and a half ago I saw this movie, and it was after the movie had already been, like, announced, but it was before a trailer had dropped. It was when it was just the poster of Robert Pattinson kind of, like, rolling out on the little printer machine, which you find out it's like a little reprinter machine once you see the movie. But I saw it, like, right before it was announced to be delayed indefinitely. And I thought that was so weird because when I saw it, it was complete. It was a fully done movie. Like, all the effects looked complete too. Usually when you see a preview movie, like, some of the effects aren't all the way there. Like, it's still, like, in post-production and they're just testing it out to see if there's more that they need to, like, edit or do. Or, like, they need your opinions to, like, inform the trailer because it's about to come out. Many reasons why a movie previews, but usually it means that the movie's going to come out pretty soon. Not in all cases, but in some cases. And I thought that would be the case for this because it was really good. It's directed by Bong Joon-ho, who of course made Snowpiercer and Parasite, the Oscar-winning movie Parasite. And another fun thing, when I watched this movie in November of 2023, when I previewed it, Bong Joon-ho was sitting 3 seats away from me. He was there in LA watching the preview movie with all of us. He was like 3 seats down from me. It was insane. So that was a great experience, just like being able to watch it with him, like, wow. But anyway, so I thought it was really weird that it was getting delayed indefinitely because it was a complete movie and it was really good. So they delayed it and then they announced it and then they changed the dates like 2 or 3 times. And then it finally came out. And it came out fairly recently, just in the past month or 2. But what's there even to say about this movie? This is a movie that I recommend watching and going in as blind as you can. If you've seen the trailer, you know that Robert Pattinson plays this guy, Mickey, who's in a little bit of trouble on Earth. He's a little bit down and out on Earth. And so he decides to join this like space mission as this very specific like replaceable worker role, and his job is basically to further science and survival. Like he's basically a test dummy. They test out like different like space things on him, different like vaccines and diseases. When they reach a new like planet or space or area in space, they send him out first to see if the air is breathable, and whenever he dies they just print another version of him, and it's called Mickey 17 because the Mickey's story that we're following mainly is the 17th iteration of Robert Pattinson. So he has died 16 times in various weird and terrible ways. And basically they're leaving the Earth is like a crumbling society and they're trying to find a new place for humanity to live. And this is kind of led by Mark Ruffalo, who plays this very Trump-esque politician, and his wife, played by Toni Collette. And both of them are appropriately horrible, terrible people, just very, very selfish people, trying to like explore space and find new planets for humanity to live in so that they can like rule that area and basically be the king and queen of this like new space colony, and this like army of people who are like working for them, with them, to try to like establish this new colony, where that includes Robert Pattinson. Really interesting, unique premise. One thing about Bong Joon-ho, like he's creative, you know, and I love the way he portrays stories, even if they're not like big sci-fi unique stories, even something like Parasite, where it's just this family who's like slowly overtaking this other family's home. Like that was a really interesting premise and portrayal of that happening. A really well written, really well performed. Robert Pattinson and his funny little accent. Like anytime Robert Pattinson does a funny little accent, which is more often than not, like I'm there. It's great. It's entertaining. Naomi Ackie. I thought the relationship between Robert Pattinson and Naomi Ackie was really great. They kind of get together very early on in this mission, and she stays with every iteration of Robert Pattinson. So every time he gets reprinted, she remains his partner. And there's one specific part where there's 2 Mickeys. You can see that if you see it in the trailer, so it's not really a spoiler. But at some point, they think that Mickey 17 has died, and so they create a Mickey 18, but Mickey 17 comes back. So at one point, there's 2 of them, and Naomi Ackie, his girlfriend, like is like, this is great, both of them, and that's a fun little scene. But then there's another girl who really likes Mickey 17. He's like the more sensitive Mickey. And she goes to Naomi Ackie and is like, okay, clones are illegal, so I won't like tell on him, but you have to let me have Mickey 17 and you can have Mickey 18, who's like the bolder, brash Mickey. And and for a second I was like, oh no, like that's like, if that was my boyfriend and someone wanted his clone, I wouldn't just give him up. Like that's still my boyfriend. So I was kind of worried that she was going to pimp out Mickey 17, who was in love with Naomi Ackie, not the other girl. But anyway, I'm getting too detailed on this, but I was pleasantly surprised that Naomi Ackie was like, fuck off, they're both mine. Like, and I was like, yes, as you should. They are both yours and they're both in love with you. So why would you give one away? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So I really like that. I just really like the path that this movie went in terms of like characters and their interactions and everything that happened with them. Just things that I enjoy because I want to have a good time at the movies. I want to see a fun, interesting story with fun, interesting characters, and I want to feel good after watching it. And that's what Mickey 17 was for me. So Mickey 17, definitely recommend. Sure, catch it in theaters if you can. I think it's one of those movies that's better on the big screen. But if you can't, like, at least watch it streaming, and I give that one 4.5 out of 5 stars. Okay, last movie I want to mention, just so that I can fill my hater quota. So let me just, there we go. Is Death of a Unicorn. Death of a Unicorn was bad. It's like it definitely, I don't know if it was, but it felt like an AI generated movie, at the very least an AI generated script. Maybe even AI casted, like, who would play a good dad? Paul Rudd. Who would play a good daughter? Who's really big right now? Jenna Ortega. And the thing about A24 is, as a studio who like produces these like independent movies and usually have very unique premises and, you know, are usually like fun and different. And that's why I see A24 movies, because I know I'm not going to see the same thing I've seen a million times over in other movies. I'm not going to see a remake. I'm not going to see, you know what I'm saying? But they've kind of been losing it lately. Where they're playing so heavily into like, isn't this like a cool, fun, unique premise, that they're forgetting to make the movie good? At least with this one. And a few others that I've seen, don't have specific examples for you, but this is like the worst one. I think Lamb is a good example. That played into the like, isn't this weird and freaky, and we're gonna make it kind of sad. But they forgot to make it good and entertaining. Thinking back to early A24 movies, or earlier, at least like Midsummer, which had a fun mix of like great visuals, but there was also like some agony and sadness in it. And that's kind of like one kind of A24 movie. And then like the comedic kinds of A24 movies, which a lot of them I've seen aren't super comedic. They just have comedic elements. And Death of a Unicorn, I feel like tries to play more on the comedic style, but it's not funny. Like, let me just say that right away. It's not funny. Stupid premise. The premise is that Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega, who are father and daughter, hit a unicorn on the way to like his like boss's family's house, his like super, super rich boss and family who are like in the pharmaceutical business. Luckily enough, they're in pharmaceuticals, and the unicorn blood just so happens to cure everything. So exactly what you think is going to happen happens. Like, which I know is a weird thing to say about a movie where two people accidentally kill a unicorn. Like, exactly what you think is going to happen happens, but like think about it. Like, they kill a unicorn. We find out the unicorn blood cures things. And so, of course, the rich pharmaceutical people are going to take advantage of that and try to make lots and lots of money off of it. And then they're the bad guys. And so then they just get eviscerated by the other unicorns in the end, because there's multiple unicorns. They kill a baby unicorn, and they don't even kill it. It comes back to life. I guess unicorns are, and I don't care about spoiling this movie, don't watch it. I guess unicorns like are immortal beings because like their horns have magic powers and like their blood is magic. So it heals everything for some reason, which is like, is fine, because that's some lore about unicorns that has gone back to other pieces of media too. Same thing in like Harry Potter, like Lord Voldemort is immortal because he drinks unicorn blood, but he's also evil because only someone evil would drink a unicorn's blood. That's fine. That's fine. Whatever. So the one that they run over, who they think is dead, and they kill multiple times, this poor fucking baby unicorn. They kill it multiple times, and it keeps coming back to life, and they keep killing it. The mom and dad unicorn come and wreak havoc, trying to get their little baby back. And the dumbest shit, there's a few things. One, the unicorns look terrible. They're so obviously CGI. And I know what you might be thinking, of course it's CGI. Unicorns aren't real. Sure, but there's good CGI and there's bad CGI. And this is bad CGI. Never at any moment did I think, oh wow, this is a unicorn. At any time the unicorns were on screen, I was like, this isn't real. And Jenna Ortega is looking at a tennis ball probably, and not anything real. Like they could have put more effort into like the texture of them. They could have put CGI on top of a real horse and used a real horse, like, and you don't have to use a horse on set. Film a horse against a green screen, use that, CGI on top of it, it would have looked better. But what do I know? I don't know. But the thing is, even if you're CGI is hard to get perfect and realistic, I'm sure. So in that case, just don't show it that much. They showed the unicorns on screen so much. Like, it would have been way better. And they try to be scary too. Like, I'm supposed to be scared of these unicorns. They try to make them look like big, horror, scary teeth unicorns, but they just look so fake. I was just like, I thought it was stupid. I don't know. So if you want them to be scary and mysterious and magical, don't show them a whole lot. Imply that they're there. Flashes in the background, shadows, a couple shots here and there, like of the face and the full body, just a couple, so that we can get some fear. What's going to happen next? Are we going to see the unicorn? Blah, blah, blah. But they show it, all three of them, they show them so much that it was ridiculous. And I was like, do they think that these unicorns look good? Because they don't. And then another dumb thing was that how they get away from the unicorns. Obviously, the unicorns kill all the bad rich people, because of course they do. It wouldn't make sense if they didn't. They're trying to take advantage of the unicorns, so of course they're going to kill them. And some of that, like, there's a part where, like, one of the rich guys, like, gets a unicorn horn, like, through his chin, through his head. And that was a cool visual. There's a few good bits of gore here and there. There's just a few little cool visuals, and that's kind of it. Non-likable characters. When the ones that survive, Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega, they survive because Jenna Ortega is pure of heart. She, like, part of the unicorn lore that she's uncovering is that, like, obviously we can't take advantage of the unicorns. Look, they're going to come back and they're going to take revenge, and only a maiden pure of heart can, like, lure them in and use them for their power. And she's a maiden who's pure of heart, this, like, random college girl. So the unicorns don't hurt her, and then when her dad, Paul Rudd, dies at the end, they bring him back to life, and everyone's happy. And it's just like, really? What is this, a fairy tale? It's a maiden pure of heart. Jenna Ortega is pure of heart, and so she can control the unicorns. What fucking bedtime story are we telling here? Like, this is so stupid. It feels so unreal. It's one of those, I always call them, like, conveyor belt movies, or like boardroom movies, where people are like, what do people like? What's something new and different? Unicorn, right? And the evil CEO of a pharmaceutical company takes advantage of them, and so they get eviscerated in the end. And we need to have, like, the girl who's like, and she's pure of heart, and so the unicorns listen to her, and she has a connection with them. And so stupid. Like, it's so storybook stupid. And who's big right now? Jenna Ortega. She's in a lot of movies right now. Let's get her. Let's dress her as, like, this little alternative chick. So it's like, oh, this girl, this, like, sassy college girl is really a pure of heart maiden. Yeah, they'll never see that coming. Who else is good? People like Paul Rudd. That's her dad, you know? Will Poulter has been in an A24 movie before. Let's get him in on it. And let's just make the dumbest shit imaginable. And that's how I felt about Death of a Unicorn. I do not recommend that one. I give it 1 out of 5 stars. Don't watch it. So that's it. So I fulfilled my hater quota. I've made the review sufficiently long. But otherwise, everything else that I talked about, Novocaine was pretty good. Locked, I really liked. And Mickey 17 was even better. So ascended from there, and then just Death of a Unicorn was a flop. But I'm still hopeful about movies coming out the rest of the year. And hopefully I'll have even more to give positive reviews about, and maybe a few bad fun ones that I can rant about for an hour. That'll be fun too. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought of these movies, if you have seen them, if you haven't seen them, if you're planning to, and any other movies that you're excited for and think I should look out for. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks for watching, honeybees. Make sure to like and subscribe. Bye. Meow. You gonna stay there? Are you gonna stay there? You can sleep there for the whole video if you want, just like you did last time. Oh, okay, you can stay there.